So this started off actually quite quick, and in fact we'll see as we go forwards, as we do the very first climb of the Three Sisters 3 climbs, as you know, Zwift Com, Epic Com, and then the Volcano Com at the end. As we get into 4 or 5 kilometers, my average watts is still 313, 314, yet I am already down, halfway down the pack, haven't been able to keep with the front pack at all. And actually, if I go back about 5 or 6 months, I would probably stayed with the A's for a good period of the race. I mean, certainly not the whole race by any stretch of the imagination, but at least until we got to a significant climb. So here we are, 11 kilometers in, we're just starting on the Epic Com, and you can see that I've found kind of a bit of a group that I'm just trying to hold the wheel with, but still I'm getting past. And we get into this sort of relentless climb up the Epic Com. It is leg burning and energy sapping. All of you who've done it before will know exactly what I mean. And as we come up to the second half of the Epic Com, I find myself on my own for a little bit, and really it was just trying to get my mindset right. So when I first started the race, I was thinking, I wonder how I'm going to do, I wonder how I'm going to do, but it became pretty clear pretty quickly that I wasn't going to be competitive in the B group riders. And actually, as you can see, I'm now pretty much surrounded by C group riders, and I think that's probably where I am right at this moment in time. I'm probably more of a C, you know, a high C, let's say, as opposed to a very low B. And I'm wondering, even now, as we're at 47 minutes in, you can see that my average watts is still 277, so it's not unrespectable, but I am just wondering if just everybody else has improved, or maybe this has just attracted all of the elite riders, I don't know, and I'll find my excuses where I can. So as we come down the other side of the Epic Com, we've then got quite a sort of flat piece, if you like. It's a little bit rolling, you know, some ups and downs, and this is definitely more a bit of me, but as you can see by the look on my face, I am properly feeling it. I'm really, you know, not looking forward to that final Com, albeit it's nothing like the Epic Com, of course. We come through the volcano, we've got a few bends and a few turns as we get to the start of the Volcano Com in a second, and you can see I've kind of held my place. I'm still around, you know, mid-50s in terms of everybody that's taken the race on. I've kind of held my place around the other C group riders that I was with before. So in many respects, I'm not too unhappy with it. But here, as we get to the top of this Com, I try and push. I can't push, I've really not got much left in my legs, and you can see I've just taken all the power off on the other side. And then as we go into this final bit, I'm just going to slow it down for a second and we'll just talk you through it. But here you can see my look on my face, and I'm actually cramping. I'm actually cramping in my legs, and I'm to the point whereabouts I just actually can't stay out of the saddle any further, with about 2.6 kilometers to go. So let's just whiz through to the end, because, you know, spoiler alert, there's no real sprint finish. I haven't got a sprint finish left in me. The last 2 kilometers really hurting quite a lot. I'm actually on my own. I've got another B group rider who's a bit ahead of me, as you could see, a few C group riders that are ahead of me, and then I've got a little bit of a gap with the next rider behind me. So really it's just a case of pushing on, pushing over the line and getting it finished. And boy was I glad when it had finished, as we come up to the finish line in 100, 90, 87, oh my god, please let it be over, please let it be over. And there we go, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I have had enough. Oh, that was brutal. Next up was Makuri Pretzel, 78 kilometers almost, over 600 meters of climbing, and we started off in Nyokyo and then we headed out round all of the islands of Makuri. So we avoid all the coms, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any climbs in it. Very long race, and you could see that there was a bit more pacing going on at the start. Well, there must have been, because I managed to keep up. And we're still pulling 250, 260 watts, but if you remember from a couple of minutes ago, that's a lot less than the first 10 or 20k in race 1. So as we head out around Makuri Islands, we can see that at the moment I'm not doing too badly. I managed to stay with the front group. I think this is predominantly because everybody's aware that there's still a long way to go. And even over that first climb, as we head down a little downhill now, still not doing too badly, but it's about to stop being as good as that, because as we go over this little climb, there's been a surge of power people have pulled away, I've not managed to stay with them, and I think this is whereabouts it's really highlighting to me that my fitness and my form even at the moment is not where it should be. So again, I find myself probably sort of, at the front of the seas or in the middle of the seas as we push on along the rest of the course. So still 44 kilometers to go, and this was a really long race, over 2 hours in the end. Those of you who took part know how challenging it was, and I don't know whether or not sometimes it creeps into the back of my mind. In fact, I'm sure it does. But knowing that there's another race with the Alpe de Zwift coming up tomorrow, which I'll take you through in a minute, it's just there, and there's always this sort of, do I save my legs a little bit or not, or do I push on? And particularly where I am at the moment. So if I went back 4 or 5 months, there would have been no thought of that, because I had my fitness level, I was pushing hard in races, I was probably mid to top NBs and able to stay with the A's for quite a while. Whereas now I'm at the other end of that scale, and I think it's just having to get the fitness back, and then when you get your fitness back, the confidence comes back. So as we come into kind of the last 23 kilometers or so, there's quite a long section of uphill as we come towards the last 20 kilometers, and you can see it just goes on and then it plateaus here, and I'm currently running around mid 30s to 40 in the peloton. So again, in the big scheme of things, for a person who's been Zwifting for only a year and has done relatively well over those past 12 months, still doing okay, and actually managed to pull a couple of people back as we went into the last 11 or 10 kilometers. But as we come up towards the finish, I managed to get with a group of sea riders, and we pretty much ride together, and that was actually a really rather nice way to finish. There was a group just ahead of us, there was a group behind us, none of those gaps were changing very much, and at the back of my mind I'm thinking, well, maybe I could try a little bit of a sprint, because that's what you do when you're in a race. So I tried to conserve some energy, I went for a sprint, and let me cut over to real life, and you can see exactly how that went over the last 250 meters when I decide to go for it. And just for the record, getting my excuses in early, I went outdoors for a ride today with a friend of mine. We did 42 kilometers. Wasn't exactly the hardest pushed ride I've ever done, but I've already got some kilometers in my legs after the previous 2 days. So there you go. If it's over an hour, well, that's it. My excuses sorted. Okay, excuses out of the way. This one's the last one of the weekend, and then in theory we've got the week off, but I'll talk about that at the end of this section. So we start off in and around the volcano, and then, as most of you will know, we then finish with the Alpe de Zwift. So we start off again, and already I'm middle of the pack, the first even remotely significant climb, and it isn't significant at all as we go past the Italian villas. It's more of a smooth uphill, and I've just completely lost the pack. I tried to get back on, you probably saw it there, but there was just no way. So we settle back into the middle of the pack again, as we've got a bit of a climb before we head down through the sort of jungle area and to the bottom of the Alpe de Zwift. So how was I treating this in my mind? Well, I figured that because I was 3 days in, I was feeling quite sore, I'd cramped the previous 2 days, and because I'd lost the pack so early on in this race, I just got into the mindset of, I'm going to treat this as something like a mid to high zone 2 workout. So what I mean by that is try and keep the heart rate 120 to 130, which is zone 2 for me, and then just basically do the climb. But the objective really was just to finish the climb. So the outdoor Zwift is my go-to when I feel like I want to do a climb, which isn't all that often, and I have actually done it in under 50 minutes. There's a video on the channel that you can watch and see me do that, but my last attempt was just under an hour. My very first attempt was just over an hour, and this is actually my 4th time going up, so I haven't done it all that often, but I do kind of like it. And I don't know whether it's the scenery. I'm not a lover of climb portals, to be honest. I've done a couple of them. I find them, I don't know, just they're not interesting enough visually to keep me going. But the outdoor Zwift, you know, it's mimics a real life climb. It's part of the Tour de France. You know, all those kind of things that this, you know, virtual edition of it is linked to. Just makes me much happier doing this particular climb. So as you can see, I made a schoolboy error. I'd downloaded all of my video footage from the day before onto my laptop, and then completely forgotten to format the SD card. So you can imagine from yesterday, over 2 hours worth of riding that I'd videoed, that was still on the SD card. So I'd run out of space when I got to the last 10 kilometers or so on this climb. So anyway, we've only got 7.4 kilometers to go. We're just coming up to turn 11, and yeah, I'm kind of on my own again. The rider behind me, ECRO, actually had pulled out in front of me quite a long way further down the hill, and then I just started to reel him in, and then he just seemed like he had you know, maybe blown up a little or lost his legs, and I just continued to pull away. But I could see that as we got into the last 5 or 6 kilometers, there was a couple of riders starting to catch me up, although I was keeping relatively similar placed to the rider in front of me, Jurgensen. So he was, you know, broadly equivalently going about the same speed up the mountain as I was. But, you know, it was a bit of a lonely ride for the last 4 or 5 kilometers, and I just got inside my own head and just thought, right, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to try and push whereabouts I feel I can push. I will. I was really concentrating on trying to keep my cadence high. So one thing, and I'd be interested to know what you think about this in the comments, is I felt like my cadence was a bit low, or has been low. It's been generally 70 to 75. And on the last run up here, I was actually pacing somebody up the outdoor Zwift. Believe that. Believe me, pacing somebody up a climb, but there you go. And they left me and I cramped. And, you know, it could be hydration, could be fueling, could have been all those things. I'm sure, you know, there'll be lots of suggestions about what I could do to maybe avoid it. But in reality, it was, I think it was down to the cadence that I was doing, which was around the 70s. I stopped, just basically took a minute on that climb, and then started going again and put my cadence, sort of pushed my cadence, I should say, up to about 80, 85, and managed to finish the climb. So you can see in the top left-hand corner, I mean, it's up and down, but I pretty much wanted to keep it at 80 or above, and I pretty much did that. And there we go. That was me up the outdoor Zwift. Well, if you're still here, thanks very much for watching to this point. What's next? Well, we've had the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the ECRO racing that you've just seen. Monday, I took a rest day, very sensibly, and I'm actually not feeling too bad now. So tonight is a 2-up team time trial, and I'll do a video on this because it's a fairly new format to me. 2 people in a team time trial, and you're racing against other teams. So it's a whole new thing as far as I can see, and I'll take you through that in a video which will probably come out later in the week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I think it will be a good one. And then tomorrow it will be another rest day, and then Thursday we're going to do some 4-man team time trial. That's easy for me to say. Team time trial. We're going to do a 4-man team time trial practice for the ZRL. And for those of you who are like me, I thoroughly enjoyed the Zwift Racing League last year, so I'm really looking forward to that. So we've got a bit of a practice tomorrow night. And then Friday, Saturday and Sunday will be ECRO again, and there'll be another video of those 3 races coming out early next week. Thank you very much for watching. I will give you an update in the coming days with regards to how all of this has affected my fitness, you know, where my form is, and I'll probably do that at the end of this weekend, so that we can see, you know, what that 10 days has done in terms of hopefully improving my fitness and hopefully starting to get a bit of a power back and get a little bit more competitive. But we shall see. Thank you very much for watching, and ride on.